Flathead Lake is a big, crystal-clear natural lake in Montana. It's a relic of an ancient, gigantic, glacially dammed lake, Lake Missoula, from the interglacial period. It's located along the Flathead River's main channel. The lake level rose roughly 10 feet when Kerr Dam was built at its outlet on Polson Bay in 1930. Flathead Lake is a nearly 200-square-mile lake in Montana's northwest corner, just south of Kalispell. It's about 30 miles long and 16 miles wide, around the same size as Mille Lacs Lake in Minnesota, but smaller than Red Lake. It covers around half of San Francisco Bay's main bay. While it has a larger surface area than Lake Tahoe, due to Tahoe's depth, it has significantly lesser volume. Flathead Lake is 370 feet deep at its deepest point, with an average depth of about 164 feet. This makes it deeper than the Yellow Sea or the Persian Gulf's normal depths. Flathead Lake is located in a beautiful section of Montana, 30 miles southwest of Glacier Park, and is bordered on both sides by magnificent roadways that wrap along its undulating shoreline. The Mission Mountains border the lake on the east, and the Salish Mountains border it on the west. The Flathead Valley was created by the damming of the Flathead River by prehistoric glaciers. The valley has a very warm temperature for an area so far north and inland. Pacific Ocean is about 400 miles away. The temperate climate allows for cherry orchards on the east coast and wine vineyards on the west. Around the lake there are also apple, pear, and plum orchards, as well as vegetable, hay, honey, nursery tree, Christmas tree, sod turf, and wheat production. Once known as Salish Lake, the body of water was named for the Salish Indians. Early European Americans called them the Flathead Indians because of misinterpretation of early Native American Sign Language. A common misconception is that the name is derived from a practice of head flattening, more common among tribes, such as the Chinook. There's no evidence to show the Salish ever had this custom. Since the late 19th century, the Salish were mostly removed to the Flathead Indian Reservation located at the southern end of the lake. The dam near Polson regulates the lake's water level, generates hydroelectric power, and provides water for irrigation to support agriculture in the area. The lake is an irregularly shaped shoreline and dozens small islands in the lake. Wild Horse Island is the largest at just over 2,000 acres. Melita Island is a 64-acre island. At its highest point, Melita is 80 feet above water level. The closest access is from Walstead Landing, about 1.5 miles away. The island is owned by the Boy Scouts of America and is used as a summer camp and for other activities. Flathead lies at the northern end of a geological feature called the Rocky Mountain Trench. The trench, which formed with the Rocky Mountains, extends north into the southern Yukon as a straight, steep valley, which also holds the headwaters of the Columbia River. During the last ice age, this trench was filled by an enormous glacier. As the glacier moved southward, it carved out the trench. The Polson Moraine, near present-day Polson, Montana, marks the southernmost extent of the glacier during the last ice age, and thus is the site of the glacier's terminus. The large size of the Polson Moraine indicates the glacier stalled here for many years before retreating. As the climate warmed, a portion of the glacier in Mission Valley receded more slowly than the main body, which kept the lake basin from being filled with sediment. Eventually, this ice also melted, forming a lake behind the moraine. Once the water reached the top of this moraine dam, it began to cut a channel through it. Most moraine dam lakes drain quickly because water cuts entirely through the moraine. However, Flathead Lake remains because a bedrock hill buried underneath the Polson Moraine prevented the moraine from being completely cut through, so the meltwater never completely drained. At one time, probably when the valley was partially filled by a glacier, the level of the Flathead Lake was about 500 feet higher, and it drained through a valley west of Elmo, Montana, which is at the end of Big Arm Bay. Water carved out a wide, flat-bottomed pass with a deeper, narrow channel at the south edge of the pass. The deeper channel and traces of the dry riverbed are still visible today from Route 28. The Flathead River and the Swan River, also known as Big Fork River where it enters the lake, are the lake's major tributaries. The lake's inhabited by native bull trout and cutthroat trout, as well as non-native lake trout, yellow perch, and lake whitefish. Local residents have reported sighting other aquatic fauna in the lake as well, such as sturgeon and the Flathead Lake monster.
There were 2 or 3 or 4 humps showing at one time. The thing just subsided in the water and disappeared.
Non-native possum shrimp were introduced by Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks in the Flathead drainage basin to encourage production of the larger kokanee salmon. However, they migrated into Flathead Lake and have altered the ecosystem. Fishermen had introduced lake trout 80 years prior, but they remained at low densities until the non-native mysis became established. The bottom-dwelling mysids eliminated a recruitment bottleneck for lake trout by providing a deep-water source of food where little was previously available. The lake trout subsequently flourished on mysids. Flathead Lake is home to a number of native and non-native fishes and is managed cooperatively by Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks and the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. The lake is home to a semi-annual Mac Days lake trout fishing contest, which aims to reduce the non-native Mackinaw trout or lake trout populations, as well as educating people about Flathead Lake Fisheries Management Plan. Like the majority of other non-native species, MACs became established in the lakes from the late 1800s and early 1900s. The introduction of the lake trout has placed increased pressure on the ecologically similar, threatened native bull trout. Since the inception of the event in 2002, though, over 400,000 invasive lake trout have been harvested. Be sure to check out our videos on flathead cherries and the Bob Marshall Wilderness Area.
And I feel like New York City. Get me to the farm.